Greetings, grade 11. This is the list of some of the outcomes that we have covered during the trimester 3. These particular learning outcomes are very, very important as some of the questions will actually come from these particular learning outcomes. So the examination is going to be a multiple choice. The examination is going to be 1 hour. You will have 20 questions. Now, I want to caution you that you need to make sure that you study everything. This particular summary that I will share now, or this discussion, is not necessarily mean it is an examination. It is a guide to ensure that you understand what is it that you need to read on or to study on in preparation for your examination. The first learning outcome that you need to understand is how social media can have a positive impact on health. Now, you will recall that in the first trimester, we spoke about the definition of health. So, health involves four dimensions, right? It is emotional dimension, mental dimension, physical dimension, as well as social dimension. So, in this aspect, obviously, we are going to focus on social dimension as well as maybe, in fact, all the dimensions will be covered under social media topic. So, here, one of the positive impact that social media has is building relationships. So, you know that through social media, you can meet new people, so as a result, you can build and sustain relationship. And number two, you can also improve your communication skills. You can learn new things, improve your social skills, right? So you need to make sure that you understand the question. What is it that it need you to say regarding this particular learning outcome? Okay. Right. And then number two, how can social media be negative, or how can it have a negative uh, impact on your health? Now, obviously, addiction. So, addiction is one of the negative impact of the social media. It can also cause sleeping problems. It can also expose you to fake friends. It can expose you to hackers online, where they access your private information. So these are some of the negative impact or effect of social media. Right. So number three, describe how cyberbullying can impact health. Now, firstly, you need to understand what is cyberbullying, and you also need to understand that the cyberbullying is an online bullying threat, embarrassment that is targeted on someone online. So if someone is saying a bad word to you, uh, body shaming you, or disliking your pictures, or mocking you, or saying anything that is either offensive or discriminatory, that is considered as cyberbullying. Okay, so how can cyberbullying affect your health? Obviously, this is going to affect your emotional health dimension. It's also going to affect your social health dimension because you will withdraw. You will stay away from people. Because you will internalize all these things that are being said about you online, and you will also feel sad. So your emotional dimension of health will also be affected. So you'll feel sad about what is being said on you online. Okay, and that can also lead into physical, if impact on physical health, because if you are stressed, you may overeat or you may avoid eating at all, and that can have negative impact on your physique and the overall energy levels. Right. So you need to understand this particular aspect as well of a question. Now, number four, explain how social media is used as a communication tool between healthcare providers and public. So here you need to understand that hospitals, they use social media as well. They use Twitter, they use YouTube, they use Facebook, they use WhatsApp. Uh, there are so many other platforms that they actually use, even their website, right? So they can use their platforms to actually ensure that they share information about opening times. When are they opening? Are they opening on the weekends? Are they opening on public holidays? During the normal working hours, at what time are they opening? So opening times. They can share that information. Number two, they can also share the information on how to reach a doctor or a specialist, right? So there they can allow you to book an appointment or to inquire about where you can actually locate a particular doctor, or even about a particular service that will treat either the disease or the infection that you might have. Okay, so that's how you will actually have to understand this particular question that will come from this learning outcome. Okay, all right. So number five, demonstrate how to find reliable information. Now you need to know that online there are many people who share information, and some of the information that is shared online is actually not authentic, okay, or it's not reliable. Now, because here we are dealing with health, it is important that the information that we find online is a reliable information, or that we get it from reliable sources. Right. So, in order for you to ensure that the information that you get online is reliable, you need to use well-known websites. So, in our case, you can use a website, government website, a news website, and online helplines. Okay. You can use other well-known organizations such as WHO. So they also have reliable information, and their information is updated yearly. Okay, right. And you also need to understand who wrote that information. Is it a person who is qualified? Is it a person who has an experience? Or is just a student, or is just someone who is sharing his or her own opinion? So you need to understand who wrote the information, the credentials of that particular person. Now, the information obviously from the nurses and from the doctors will be reliable, so you can actually trust them. And also, the medical journals, you can also trust the information from medical journals. Right. Also, the website safety, you need to check if the website that you are accessing for information, it does not ask for private or personal information. So if the website is asking you to put in your private information, your credit card, your personal name, your address, and so on and so forth, then you need to close that particular site immediately. Then you also need to check how old the information is. Now you need to know that research in medical field is done yearly. So there are new discoveries, there are new treatments, there are new vaccines that are being developed. So you need to make sure that the information is up to date. You cannot use or rely on the information that was published in 2000 or in 1999. So you need to use an up to date information. Also, you need then to be able to make a judgment about all of this information, whether the website is well known. Number two, who wrote the information. Number three, is the website safe? And also, how old is this particular information? Then you can be able to make a judgment and on how to on whether the information is reliable or not. Okay. Then number six, discuss the history of philosophy and subdivisions of psychology. Okay. So here you are looking at the psychology, which is the study of mind. Okay. And then there are different psychology and psychologist. So the clinical psychology, cognitive psychology, developmental psychology, forensic psychology, health, personality, social, sport, and so on. Those are types of psychology. Okay, so you need to be able to identify and understand the types of psychology in this particular case, and also you need to understand the brief history about the, the philosophy as well as psychology. Okay, and also read a little bit about William Wins. Okay, and also pay attention to the year. Okay, that is on page 44 and page 45. Right. And then number seven, explain the concept of sensation, perception, as well as consciousness. So in the examination, they might ask you, what is the basic cognitive development or basic cognitive process? They can ask you that question. So if they ask you, there are three of these, okay? You have sensation, which is about all your senses, your five senses. Then you have perception, and then you have consciousness. Okay, so you need to make sure that you understand all these three concepts. All right, and then you move on to describe two psychological theories used to explain human development. Okay, so we studied two psychologists. We studied Pandora, and then who spoke about social cognitive theory, right? And then we spoke about Piaget with the theory of cognitive development and four stages: your sensory motor, your pre-operational, your concrete, and your formal operational. All right. So here, when we talk about Piaget, obviously we're looking at the development of the mind. How do people behave, think, learn, and change as they get older? Okay. So when you talk about social cognitive theory, you need to understand that it involves learning behavior from watching other people, copying and imitating other people. So you need to understand the difference between these two theories and also get into details, especially in Piaget's theory. You must learn all those four stages of development, learn what happened in each stage, okay, especially the sensory motor as well as the formal operational. You need to learn what happened in the sensory motor between 0 to 2 years. How do infants learn? How do they interact with their environment? Pre-operational, uh, that's from 2 to 7. How kids learn from that particular age range, and how do they develop? How do they interact and behave? Okay, and then also concrete operational, the 7 to 11-year-olds. How do they learn? How do they interact? How do they change? What are these new changes that you see or that they experience in the concrete operational as well as formal operational? Okay, so you need to make sure that you understand those particular stages, right? And then you need also to be able to evaluate the concept of stress and coping and how they can affect behavior of yourself as well as others. Okay, so here you have, oh sorry, before I go into the stress, I need also to come back here and talk about the higher cognitive process. So I spoke about the basic cognitive process, which involve obviously sensation, perception, and consciousness. Okay, I'm sorry about this, but you need to understand this basic cognitive process against higher cognitive process, which obviously involve learning, memory, language, thinking, intelligence. You need to know the higher cognitive processes. You need to know what happened in the memory, what happened in language, what happened in thinking, what happened in intelligence. When you talk about memory, what are types of memory we have. When you talk about language, communication, non-verbal and verbal communication, you talk about thinking, logical thinking, and creative thinking, and obviously the structural parts of your brain, which is involved in that particular process of thinking. And also, obviously, intelligence, analytical, verbal, interpersonal, practical, emotional, and so on. So, you need to study basic cognitive theory against or alongside higher cognitive process. Okay, right. So, let's talk about stress. That's number 9. So, stress, this is the body's response to pressure. Okay, so if I say to you now, you are writing a final exam now, and you are not prepared, obviously you're going to panic, and you're going to feel stressed. Your body is really really going to feel some sort of a reaction, a hormonal change. Okay, so the pressure that you experience is actually called stress. Okay. Now, there are signs of stress, obviously, that you need to know. Some of them, they may be physical, some of them are emotional, some of them are behavioral. So you need to also learn the difference between those particular signs. And I think this was covered in your assignment. So you are probably familiar with this particular concept, as well as coping mechanisms. You are also familiar with this particular learning outcome. So you will be fine in answering any question coming from this. Right. Types of personality. So when you talk about types of personality, this is whereby we are looking at the way a person think and the way a person feels or behave, right? So some people are reserved. Okay, so when you talk about people who are reserved, these people, they actually have few friends because they are not outgoing. They don't go out there to make friends and build relationship. They really really have intimate few friends, and they are good listeners because they are always in a quiet, spaces. And then you have self-centered. And the self-centered person, this is a person who is friendly, but they just don't like to listen to others. So they want like everything to be about them. So if you tell them a story, they will turn around and make and tell you a similar story, to make it about them. Okay. And then you need to also learn about a role model. I'm sure you know what a role model is. Okay. And an average person. So this will just be okay if you know how to define types of personalities and learn different types of personalities, you'll be fine. All right. And then the purpose of physiotherapy. All right. So before you even identify the purpose of physiotherapy, you need to understand what is physiotherapy and what like two types of treatments: the passive as well as the active. Okay, and the purpose of either passive or active. So once you learn about that, you will be able to answer any question that will be able to come from here. Okay, so just a reminder again, your examination is going to be on Wednesday, the 29th, lesson 1, 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Make sure that you bring in your fully charged laptop, because the examination is going to be on your electronic devices. Okay. I wish you all the best. Good luck.